Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the AI Report. I'm Karthik Malhotra and you're watching News 9. First up, let's tell you all that happened in the world of artificial intelligence this week.
Meta Platforms is in talks with Google to spend billions of dollars on the company's chips for use in its data centers starting from 2027. That's according to the information. If confirmed, it could pitch Google as a serious rival to semiconductor giant NVIDIA. The report said talks also involve Meta renting chips from Google Cloud as early as next year. US President Donald Trump signed an executive order to launch a government-wide effort to build an integrated AI platform. It's to harness federal scientific data sets to train next-generation technologies. The effort is called Genesis Mission. It aims to transform research and speed discoveries by using massive government scientific data sets. Trump directed the US Energy Department and US national laboratories to, quote, unite America's brightest minds and most powerful computers. The Kremlin says Russian President Vladimir Putin doesn't use AI tools himself, but officials who work for him do. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov added the Kremlin used AI tools to help sort through citizens' questions during Putin's annual question and answer event. Putin last week called for a national task force to coordinate Russia's work on homegrown generative AI models. He said they were vital to preserving Russian sovereignty. Alphabet is on track to hit a historic $4 trillion market valuation. It's been powered by an impressive year-long rally fueled by the Google parent's sharpened focus on AI tools. The firm joins an elite club of big tech companies racing to dominate the booming technology as AI continues to attract Wall Street this year. Leo, the first US Pope, discussed AI with 15,000 of the country's youth via a video call. It came during a live transmission from the Vatican to a National Catholic Youth Conference in Indiana. Leo told the young viewers AI is, quote, becoming one of the defining features of our time, but he cautioned it must be used responsibly.
In your education, make the most of this time. AI can process information quickly, but it cannot replace human intelligence. And don't ask it to do your homework for you. It cannot offer real wisdom. This is a very important human element. AI will not judge between what is truly right and wrong.
So that's everything that unfolded in the world of AI in the week gone by. But to begin this show, let's actually tell you something really big that has happened in China by way of none other than the much famed Alibaba Group. Alibaba, a Chinese multinational technology company specializing in everything from e-commerce, retail to cloud computing, has launched its very own AI app. It's called Qwen, and Qwen was released on the 17th of November. It has already got as many as 10 million downloads and is among the fastest downloaded apps on the Apple App Store ecosystem in China. Now, this marks one of the fastest adoption rates seen in the consumer AI sector in China. And as I told you, the app has secured a top 3 position among free apps on Apple's App Store in the country. Alibaba's new quest into generative AI has 2 pertinent questions built in. Let's now be joined by an expert who can just put this entire geopolitics and AI in perspective. I have the pleasure of being joined on this edition of the AI Report by Sridharan, Editor International at TV9 Network. Hi Sri, thank you so much for joining us on the AI Report. First up, I want to just understand from you the brass tacks. Alibaba's Qwen, does it have what it takes to compete with the big daddies of big tech? I'm talking about the likes of ChatGPT and alike. Does Alibaba Qwen have it in itself?
So, Karthik, I would like to compare this. I'm actually tempted to compare it to, let's say, a DeepSeek movement for China. Qwen app, I think, has 3 major things going for itself. One, it's free. Unlike an OpenAI or Claude, which charge you about $20 a month, Qwen is free. Number 2, it's open source, which means there's a larger community which gets involved. And unlike a closed proprietary AI app like, let's say, OpenAI's ChatGPT or Claude, Qwen opens itself up to other developers for scrutiny and all those things. And number three, Alibaba, don't forget, is a very, very powerful internet giant in China. It plans to invest almost $53 billion into AI going ahead over the next 5 years. And it has a ready ecosystem of services that Qwen app can plug into readily. For example, maps, e-commerce, food, all kinds of things that Alibaba offers. So I think Alibaba's Qwen does have a real chance of becoming some sort of a contender, although ChatGPT, as we know, is not allowed in China at the moment. But I would imagine that there would be some concerns that continue to cloud Qwen just because it comes from China. But I think that's one of the reasons why Alibaba decided to go open source, so that the codes and everything is open to scrutiny.
All right, the fact that it is an open source tool, it does tell us that perhaps in time it could emerge as a challenger. Now talk to us about the geoeconomics and the geopolitics of all of this playing out. Do you think in time that pressure on NVIDIA to not send those high-end Blackwell chips to China, is that likely to be eased?
Well, there is a tremendous pressure from NVIDIA itself on the US administration to allow it to sell some of the higher-end chips. So there are two ways to look at it, Karthik. One is what happens to China if, let's say, US keeps the chokehold on all these super performer chips which are needed for training AI models. I think what will happen eventually is that if you don't give American chips to China, China will build its own. We already know that Huawei, for example, has an Essence series which AI companies in China are using as a replacement for that. There is already a talk of allowing the H200. Right now, NVIDIA is allowed to sell H20s to China. But H200s are multi-times faster. They're the ones that AI companies use to train their large language models. So there is a lot of pressure, but I think the decision rests with the president, President Donald Trump, and ultimately the risk that if US throttles access to these high-end chips, will China actually go ahead and build its own, thereby killing American supremacy in technology, in a very critical technology which is set to dominate the technology world, I think, for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I would imagine some sort of a compromise would be reached. I think China may even end up getting the H200s, but I think it's a call which only the US president will take. But the bottom line is, if the US were to deny China these high-end chips, China would probably invest tons of billions of dollars in building its own chips, and therefore at some point may not even need the American chips. So that's the real danger for US, Karthik.
All right, so that eternal debate of build or buy continues in China. Are they going to get access or not to those NVIDIA chips, and will they eventually be able to make chips as good in quality or potentially even superior to the ones offered by NVIDIA? Well, only time is going to answer that question. But Sridharan, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the AI Report. All right, and from there, let's pivot now to another story that made headlines this week. And this reflects what some people refer to as the potential dark side of artificial intelligence. And this story is very centric to India and the quick commerce platforms that Indians are hopping on to. And the story comes right from Swiggy Instamart. And something very fascinating really happened in the world of artificial intelligence when one user of Swiggy Instamart decided to order a tray of eggs. The tray of eggs was received by the user with one egg in that tray coming cracked. Now, the user could have potentially just applied for a refund and got his money anyway, but there seemed to be a little bit of AI play that the user wanted to potentially test. And that test case happened by the user switching to Nano Banana. There was a simple command that he had put in, and the prompt just said, apply more cracks. Now, within seconds, Nano Banana, the AI tool, changed the image to show more than 20 cracked eggs that looked completely real. The support team at Instamart saw the photograph, believed it to be true, and issued a full refund without hesitation. Now, this incident has made many people think about how easy it has become to fool refund systems that still work on trust-based image proof. If more and more people started doing this, companies offering fast deliveries may end up facing huge losses. The real challenge now is upgrading verification systems to match the speed of artificial intelligence. The world of quick commerce and the world of online delivery is up against a big challenge, and a challenge not posed by simple scamsters, a challenge posed by AI. And it seems there are going to be AI-driven solutions that companies across the delivery spectrum will have to implement, where AI bots are able to test whether or not an image uploaded on their platform is indeed AI generated. So that was just one cynical use case of artificial intelligence this week using a technology called Gemini Banana. And a lot more on this episode on this new tool, Nano Banana, which is making waves. You might have seen images on social media of tech stars, the big tech daddies, posing as rock stars outside parking lots and in hostel dormitories. That is the story that we will bring you on the other side. Just how real is artificial intelligence, especially the new tool, Nano Banana 3. Welcome back. You're still watching this edition of the AI Report right here on News 9. Now, something very interesting made headlines last week. If you haven't seen those images, you are potentially living under a rock. But fear not, we are here to lift that rock off your head to tell you all that's happening in the world of artificial intelligence. And something fantastic that came to light last week was the use of this new Gemini tool called Banana. And Nano Banana, it has multiple versions. Banana 2 is the latest one, has shown images, absolutely photorealistic images of the big daddies of big tech. Everybody you can think of, from a Satya Nadella to a Sundar Pichai to a Jensen Huang to an Elon Musk, all of them in multiple situations. You see them in a nice evening setting in a parking lot. You see them sitting almost in a hostel dormitory. We're not the experts here, but it's our job to bring you experts who are using these tools, playing with them, and really adding efficiency and creativity to their output day after day. And today, we have the pleasure of being joined by Mr. Siddhant Chaudhary. He's a young ad filmmaker who runs his own production house by the name of Daku Productions. Well, Siddhant, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us here on News 9. First up, just tell me, out of sheer curiosity, how much of the work in your line of ad filmmaking is actually being done by human beings right now, or have most of the functions been overtaken by artificial intelligence?
A large part of our pre-production work has actually been taken over by AI. Mm-hmm. So storyboards is a definite, we're almost 90% of our storyboards are all AI right now. Mm-hmm. When we look at iterations, we make a thing called a PPM board, right? Where we show reference images, mood boards. All of that is now fully AI generated. Otherwise, we had to scrape through the world's data and, curate images to create a mood board. All of that is now fully AI generated as of today.
All right, so let's talk about this new tool which is doing the rounds, and the whole world seems to be going bananas over Nano Banana. Have you personally used this tool? And if so, how does this tool sort of differ from its own previous avatar and all the other tools which are available right now for creative professionals to toy around with?
So Nano Banana Part 1 was very mind-blowing for us anyway. So I'll just break it down what the 1 did and what the 2 is now doing. 2 is, again, it's only been a few days we've been experimenting with the second one, the Nano Banana Pro as it's called. Mm-hmm. So Nano Banana 1 was a huge step up in terms of continuity. So for example, if I want you sitting at your desk, and if I want a front angle and a side angle, but when I used to go to the side angle, your face would change, your blazer would change, your shirt would change. There'd be these kind of glitches. So Nano Banana Part 1 kind of reduced those glitches by about 70%.
Okay.
So your hit rate became, if I'm generating 10 images, maybe 2 or 3 are actually usable in terms of continuity. But in the Nano Banana Pro, that has become like pretty much, I think every third or every second image, I'd say, is actually usable in terms of not changing props in the scene, costume, continuity. All of that is bang on, absolutely bang on.
All right, so a lot of continuity advantages coming, not changing color of clothes and not changing props as you move from one angle to another. But is this still largely a tool which is being used only for storyboarding purposes? Or is there also an advantage that you get eventually because videos using this tool or other tools can also be animated to look photorealistic? So are we moving towards a scenario where shoot would also be done away with? You said pre-production has been taken care of, but would production, the real lighting and shooting also get replaced by AI?
So Nano Banana Pro is not a video tool. It's a still tool for still images. Although Google has a beautiful video generating suite called the VO. So VO is now at its 3.1 iteration, which is a whole other conversation. But I think coming back to your first question of Nano Banana Pro, think of it as Photoshop, Illustrator, CorelDRAW, all of them into one package. So it's not just a generation tool, it's also an editing tool, it is also a retouching tool, so it's so many softwares all enrolled into one package. So we look at it from that point of view. It's not just an image generator for us.
All right, not just an image generator, but can do a lot that other tools would do. But are there specific skill sets required to work with these tools, or do you think anybody who has an idea, and you're pretty much in the world of AI limited just by your imagination, so anybody with an idea and with a little bit of fine-tuning of the prompts that go in can generate professional stuff which otherwise people with a great degree of skill could originally produce?
So see, you can't replace aesthetics and taste. You can't replace that. But there's a saying that I laugh about on a daily basis, is that mediocre is the new bad. So there's nothing called bad anymore, right? The more forward we go, mediocre becomes the new bad. So anybody can get up to a very above average level actually. Of course, great work still needs skill and training. But I think an above average work is very, very possible from just a layman actually.
All right, so there is no bad work anymore. Mediocre is a new bad. That's something important, and I'm sure to use it, and I will borrow your phrase and use it in our conversations as well here in the newsroom. But I want to now progress to the other aspect that you touched upon, and that is the entire story from just illustration now to video generation. And you mentioned, of course, the VO, but you also have tools like Sora. Now, how relevant are those tools in the world of ad filmmaking and going forward even for creating feature-length films? Because OpenAI, Sam Altman in fact said that in Jan there's going to be a full-length feature film which would have been generated only using AI. So how long before we actually see films being produced at scale, films being produced, keeping in mind what are the scripts which are likely to work using, again, machine learning and creating hits after hits with hardly any cost?
I mean, the funny thing is, Karthik, we are in the middle of a feature film ourselves, so it's not very far away. Okay. You're looking at things releasing, I think one released last month itself. But that was a prompt-based workflow. So what the video generation world is now moved on to is motion capture. So where we're actually motion capturing an actual actor and using those facial data tracking points of the body and the face and superimposing that data onto AI characters, whether they're animated or photoreal, but just taking that human data point from an actual actor's performance, where, that it's a thing called uncanny valley, which AI was not able to overcome right now.
Right.
But I think through Google's VO has overcome uncanny valley to a great extent on its own, just through prompts. But as filmmakers, of course, we also want to be cutting edge and ahead of the workflow. So we actually use motion capture to merge the two things.
All right. So motion capture, mimicking what real actors would do, albeit the output that you see is going to potentially be AI generated. Now, where does this leave the performers, the stars, the actor fraternity? Can we now safely assume, at least in a few years from now, actors will not be paid for their acting, but will only be paid royalty as part of motion sensing and motion mimicking technologies that you're talking about?
See, the lower level of the entire creative industry is going to be very badly hit, is already very badly hit. It's the present scenario, it's not a future scenario. But see, celebrities will always be celebrities. You can never replace that. So I think this, if you have a big following, if you have a fan, following behind you, you're safe, because you can never replace being a celebrity. Although there are digital only celebrities. If you see Japan, there is a Vocaloid performer who's performing to packed stadiums. It's a fully AI character, right? So that will be a parallel industry, but I think human celebrities cannot be replaced because the human need for connection cannot go away. But yes, the lower level of the creative industry will definitely start evaporating and has already started.
All right, and of course this problem, which was originally just Hollywood-based, is now gradually creeping into the Indian creative arts as well. Let's leave it at that for today. Thank you so much, Siddhant Chaudhary, for joining us and for sharing all that's happening in the creative field using the large world of artificial intelligence and the tools offered therein. Thank you so much for your time, Siddhant. And with that, we will slip into another short break, but staying with films. Well, if you are somebody who follows the Avengers series, well, what was meant to be fictional content could soon become absolutely real in the context of AI. We'll tell you all about that in the next segment. You're watching the AI Report. Welcome back. You're still watching the AI Report right here on News 9. Now, if you are a die-hard fan of the Marvel Universe or the DC Universe, chances are you would have stumbled upon the first Avengers series, where there was this cube which bundled in unlimited energy that could really power up the whole planet for eons. Now, Justice League showed a trinity of such cubes where there was power to be generated almost endlessly. And you all this while believed that that is fiction, right? Well, it was fiction and continues to be fiction, but may not be fiction for much longer, because two of the biggest players in the world of energy and in the world of AI have come together to potentially create that unlimited mass of energy. I'm talking about NVIDIA and General Atomics. That's right, NVIDIA, General Atomics, and a team of international partners have built a high-fidelity AI-enabled digital twin for a fusion reactor with interactive performance. Now, AI comes in by reducing simulation times from weeks to seconds. AI enables researchers to interact with the reactor virtually, exploring scenarios that may damage the reactor without risk and accelerate the path to commercial fusion power. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are not talking about nuclear fission here, we are talking about nuclear fusion. And well, if all of that sounds daunting to you and too technical to you, well, it does to me as well. We have somebody to really break it down into the nuts and bolts with us on the AI Report. Amit Ranjan Kumar joins me. Amit, just tell me, first up, what's the big deal about this nuclear fusion reactor? How's it different from what we have right now in the world of energy?
First, thank you, Karthik. First up, it is unrealistic because the amount of energy required to make this happen is 100 billion degrees Celsius, which is hotter than the temperature on the surface of the sun.
100 billion degrees Celsius.
100 million.
100 million degrees
Celsius,
which is hotter than the surface of the sun.
Basically, you are getting two nuclei together. To overcome the repulsion between two nuclei, because they are positive charges, you need that kind of energy. Number two, why it is path breaking is because you cannot do it any vessel. That kind of energy, any substance, alloy, whatever, will evaporate.
Okay.
So what scientists do is they create magnetic fields that are to prevent the plasma that is generated from touching the surface of the vessel in which this experiment is being conducted.
Okay.
So the magnetic field acts as a vacuum between that surface and the temperatures at which this experiment in plasma is being conducted. So therefore the vessel is not evaporated.
Okay.
So that is why this is path breaking, because AI makes the results that ensue happen without achieving those temperatures or without going through that trouble.
So what we are trying to tell me here is that you will have AI simulate that model. It's not really going to be a lab setting where you actually have this fusion reaction taking place and those magnetic fields which are keeping the heat from touching the vessel and eventually, if I understood correctly, for the vessel to evaporate. All this is being simulated by artificial intelligence.
Yes, because to make an experiment successful, first you need the results. Those results can be performed in two ways. Either it is mathematical, or you put mathematics into play, like what they did in the movie Oppenheimer. So they had a mile-long charge that was basically triggered and fired.
Right.
Here, that is impossible because you don't have any substance that can withstand that temperature.
Right.
Okay, and to generate those kind of temperatures, even if you had a vessel, the amount of energy used may not be as much as the amount of energy that it produces at the end of it. You need those calculations and results.
Got it. So
AI makes that possible for you.
AI is going to make the calculation possible, right?
Yes.
But eventually you're still going to need a vessel. Eventually you're still going to need that fusion reaction to take place within a real vessel.
Yes.
Is AI going to play any role in that, or basis these test results from the simulation, will material science develop to ensure that perhaps not at a large scale, at least at a laboratory testing scale, a fusion reaction can take place?
That's the general idea. Now, NVIDIA has taken the first step to tell the world that yes, you can do it, that the amount of energy required to make the fusion possible is much lesser than the amount of energy that it's going to give.
All right, so we are talking about, again, a scenario where science fiction is now being turned into reality, and reality of today is being put into potentially making something that is going to power tomorrow. Now, if this experiment, after the AI-generated results are through, and if this experiment was to be successful, do you think we are seeing a complete pivot of big tech, not just focusing on machine learning in data centers and codes that run artificial intelligence, but actually going on to disrupt multiple other physical sectors as we know them today, including the power sector?
We spoke about data centers in space in the last episode.
Yeah.
They've gone on space. Big tech is already researching on the materials that are required to make this happen. Deuterium, tritium, which is rare, and lithium. Two of these elements are not that rare. Tritium is very rare and very expensive. But the idea is people are talking about it, experimenting and looking at that scenario. So to that extent, reality may not be that far into the horizon.
All right, not that far into the horizon. Well, a lot of complex, a lot of science sort of, in this experiment, but that is the power of artificial intelligence that we are seeing at play right now.
But think about it. If this is possible, your carbon footprint, your global warming is all taken care of. Because years and years of power to power the whole planet could be produced by just a fraction of what it takes right now to produce it.
All right, so a game changer literally for the power sector. Well, maybe not immediately, but hopefully in the future. Amit, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the AI Report this week. And with that, we come to an end of another episode of the AI Report. So if you have been, thank you so much for watching. And if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to show us some love. Give us a like, give us a comment in the comment section below, and do share it with your friends who follow artificial intelligence as closely as we do. Thank you so much for watching.